We're back for another challenge video.
The loser, the biggest loser of this live stream, has to run the Mile of Misery.
Stay tuned to see what the Mile of Misery is and who's gonna be running it.
La ciencia.
Let's go. Sam raises to $15. I have ace queen suited in the low jack. I make it 50 to go, giving our British friend a warm welcome to the States. And then Du Bois in the small blind with a blurred hand puts in a cold 4-bet to 215. Well, things are about to get heated now because we're not folding, and we've actually played a lot against Du Bois, so I'm actually considering a 5-bet jam here. And the reason being is because I want to get all my equity that I have in right now. I have a lot of fold equity if I do this, but we also have a hand that plays very well in position. I'm a little nervous to jam anyways. We just make the call. The flop comes ace king 8, pretty good. I really like this flop, and it's looking good for our challenges. He bets $150, which I think he'll do with all of his range. I call 150 pretty quickly. The turn is the 2 of hearts, a brick, and this time he checks to me. Okay, if he has got pocket kings or ace king, we're beat. Besides that, we're good. I think we got a 2 street value hand, so I check it back. But I'm looking for a read under that ninja mask, going to the river card, and we get nothing. The river, 10 of diamonds, and this time he bets $250, 1/3 pot for this sizing. I hope he doesn't have pocket tens. I make the call, and we get shown that we have the same hand, ace queen, so we chop this one up. The challenge remains the same.
First hand for us on this fine Savage Sunday evening. G opens to 20 and Frankie re-raises him to $75. We're on the button and look down at Jack 10 of diamonds, a very pretty hand, and I've been experimenting a little bit with cold calling some 3-bets in position with some pretty strong hands, and I think Jack 10 makes a cut there. However, I think this is a mistake. We're a bit too shallow to do so, but if we were deeper, I think this is fine. Nonetheless, I make the call for 75 and G comes along for the ride as well. And the flop's a good one. It's Jack 6-4 with 2 hearts. G checks, and Frankie decides to check as well. I've got the highest pair out there, so I'm going to bet it. I throw out $80, and G is the only customer. So we're heads up to a turn, and it comes the deuce of hearts. Not a card I wanted to see. G checks, and I'm happy just to check this one back. River brings another 4, and now G bets out 140. Well, this spot kinda sucks. I would feel super comfortable folding to a big bet, but facing this tiny little bet, we only need to be right around 20% of the time. Does he bluff 1 in 5 times here? Maybe. I'm not really sure, but it's a live stream. People make some funky plays. I flick in the call, not expecting to win very often, and sure enough, G shows me that he's got the flush, and he gets me to pay him off. This Sunday, April 2nd at 2 p.m., we're hosting yet another Next Gen tournament. It's gonna be the same structure, $130 buy-in, $10,000 guaranteed. Every tournament so far, we've smashed the guarantee, doubling the prize pool to over $20,000.
First hand for me is 5-4 of diamonds. The under the gun straddles to 10, and we open it up in the cutoff to 35. The small blind and the straddler call, and we head off to a flop of ace 6-4 all hearts. Not that chill of a flop multi-way, so when it checks to me, we check bottom pair. And the turn is the 5 of clubs, giving us 2 pair, and it checks to me again. So now it's time to put out a value bet and a bet for protection. We size up to $80 into 110, and although that is a big bet, the small blind thinks it is not big enough, and check raises to 250. The straddler folds and it's back on us. This was an active player. This is an extremely draw-heavy board. Sure, he could have the flush already, but that is a small part of his range, and we are still live even if he does have it. So we call, the Mile of Misery ringing in the back of my head, and we take a river with now over 600 in the middle, and that river is the deuce of spades, putting a 4-liner on the board. Raj thinks about it, but checks, and we are happy to take this to showdown. We check it back, and he shows king-queen offsuit with the king of hearts. He was semi-bluffing on the turn, gave up on the river, and we take down a big one.
We're playing 2, 5, 10. Raj limps in for 10. Josh, the collector, raises to 40. And it's on me in the cutoff with 7 deuce. We're playing the 7 deuce bounty game for $25 each per person. So we're going to put in a big raise. We make it $185 to go. And the boy with pocket fours takes a second to think, and we are sweating this one out. As he makes the fold, we get past him, we get past Raj, and the collector quickly folds. It's time for us to collect $25 from each person. That's $200 plus profit. Let's freaking go. Great for the challenge.
We're playing some 2, 5, 10 this hand and look down at 2 10s in the small blind. There's an open from the trickiest of fishes on the button. I raise it up to $100 and he's the only caller. Flop comes ace, queen, 9, rainbow, and although it's not a great flop for my hand, I think betting small with all my hands on this type of board makes a lot of sense, so I do just that. Tricky Fish has 8 high right now, but clearly hates folding to me. He must have some Tricky Fish intentions later on in the hand because he makes a call. Turns a jack, another card that typically should be better for me than him. I don't expect to have the best hand all that often, but we do have a double blocker to the nuts, which would be king 10. If he's got a queen or some sort of weak ace, I think a big bet here is going to be really tough to defend against. I bet 225 and Evan snap folds his monster of a hand.
This hand is your good old classic 2, 5, 10, 20, 40, 80 at Poker House Dallas. Yes, you are hearing that correctly. Come to Texas, guys. Come hang out with us. We have fun. And we see the first person to act say that 80 is not enough, and they open it up to 250. The big blind tanks, looks in pain, and folds, and it gets to us in the $20 straddle, and we see ace-queen offsuit. Wow. So we started the hand with 1782, which is good for about 22-ish big blinds, and I have no idea what to do. Facing a 3x open and being out of position, typically I'd 3-bet close to like 5x if I were to enter this pot, which here would be 15 big blinds out of my 22 big blind stack. That doesn't really make sense, leaving me with 7 behind. So unless I 3-bet tiny and then give a good price to the other players, I think my raise should be all in. And now the question is, do I want to go all in here? Not really. I mean, this is a strong open from the first to act player, and the big blind tank folding also bothers me, as I think the hands that he frustratingly folds are hands like the lower end pocket pairs and the ace X hands. And if it's an ace X hand, he's got one of our outs. We've only got $20 invested, so we fold and get into our I can't watch position with my hoodie, and we wait for a better spot. We do get to see what happens though. For starters, we were right about the big blind. He had ace-5 of diamonds, but the rest of the hand we could have never predicted. We see that the hijack opened with pocket deuces, and the $40 straddler calls, and the $80 straddler rips it all in for $2,000 with 5-4 offsuit. It folds around, he takes it down, and this is a really good game.
Will Rosie come back from this deficit? Yes. In the next hand, we have ace king out of the gun. We make it 15 to go. Tricky Fish to our left with the blurred hand puts in a 3-bet to $45. Folds back to me, and we're in a tight configuration. Under the gun versus under the gun 1. And I, against Tricky Fish, go for a 4-bet. Not always doing this, but this time we make it $125, and Tricky Fish makes the call. Okay, we're heading off to a flop, which comes 7, 6, 3, all diamonds. Great flop for our hand, and because it's a monotone board, we're gonna bet small and make it $50 to go, and Tricky Fish 3-bets us to $165. Now we are in a spot. Obviously, we're not gonna fold, but now it's between calling and raising. I'm hoping if he has a hand like jacks, queens without a diamond, and I go all in here, he's gonna fold. This is huge for the challenge if we do get called, but boys, I'm gonna risk it all right now. I go all in, and Tricky Fish goes into the tank. I am sweating it out as the camera is on me. What's going to happen? Well, Tricky Fish, he makes the call. So I put up the 1. We're going 1 run out. The turn is the queen of diamonds. We got it. The river doesn't matter. And now, boys, this challenge is almost as sure as locked up for me. So now it's between Rosie and Jello to see who's gonna battle for that beer mile. But what if I punt? Should I lock it up? You'll have to see, guys.
This hand we've got the Frankster special, Jack 10 of spades. I read this book one time that said statistically Jack 10 suited never loses, so obviously I'm seeing a flop no matter what. There's one call, and then our European buddy Sam Clark opens up the action to $30. We call on the button, and the homie G calls as well. We flop a flush draw on King 6-4, and action checks to me. I decide just to check this one back, take a free card, and it's a nice one because we pick up a pair with the Jack of clubs. Action checks to me once more, and at this point, I feel pretty good placing a small value bet. I make it $40, G makes a call, and now Sam decides to do something I really wasn't expecting. He check raises me to $200. Well, first things first, there is no chance in hell Sam is getting me to fold a pair plus flush draw. I'm not really used to facing this line, but also, I'm not sure what sort of strong hands he would choose to check twice in a multi-way pot. I'm not buying it. I make the call, and G decides to stick around as well, getting an okay price with his straight draw. And Binkarooski, the river comes that fifth spade I was looking for. Like I said, Jack 10 of spades cannot miss. G checks. Sam decides to wave the white flag and check as well. Time to bet and pray someone has something worth a call. I make it $325, and they both snap fold. Darn it.
The straddle is on, and we have ace-queen offsuit again, this time on the button. We're not down a ton on the session, but we are struggling in the challenge. Frankie and Jack are just too damn good at poker. We need a big pot. We open it up to 35. The big blind isn't even here, so this looks like it's going to be a boring one. The small blind folds, but the big blind runs back to the table to peek at his cards, and then goes all in for $3,000. Yes, this is not a typo. This is actually happening, and this is the same guy who ripped $2,000 with 5-4 offsuit in the last hand I showed. What is going on? We've got around 1,700 to start the hand, so that's what his jam is effectively. What am I supposed to do here? We just saw him spaz with 5 high pre-flop. There's no way he would do this with hands like aces or kings and risk scaring me away. So the only hand I think we are ever in trouble against in this spot is ace-king. We said we needed a big pot, and I think it's time to catch Raj slipping. I make the call, something an old Rosie probably would not do, and I say we're running it once. Always once for you guys, once for the content. We want blood, and we're off to the run out, which comes Jack, Jack 6, 2 diamonds, 3 of spades, 3 of clubs. We have ace high, and Raj shows ace king of spades. Oh my goodness, we got absolutely saved. Our challenge hopes are still very alive, but I'm not gonna lie, that one shook me up. I hate making the wrong call, even though one could say that I'm being results oriented now that we saw he had ace king. Nevertheless, let's keep our head on straight. It's on to the next one.
Never give up. This might be one of those videos where I tell myself I'm not allowed to look at the comment section.
Oh baby, we get into a juicy spot versus 2 other Next Gen members. We open pocket 8s to $30 over the straddle, and only my 2 companions make the call. 3 ways to a flop. It comes ace 7-6 with a flush draw. We've got second pair on a draw heavy board. When it checks to me, you know, I think a small bet denies a lot of equity from any random 2 overcards to my 8s like king jack, and also charges draws, so I make it $50, and only Shark Boy makes the call.
To a turn, which is the ace of spades. Magical. We have trips, and Jack slows down and checks. It's time to value bet. Jack loves to call me and to try to ruin my day. Let's charge him to do so. I bet over half pot, 125 into 200. Jack thinks about it and makes the call with his 8s. 450 in the pot. The river is
almost too good. It comes the 8 of hearts. If Rosie was bluffing with the flush draw, he just got there, and if he somehow got an ace, I don't expect him to slow down either. I check to set the trap, and he falls for it by betting small to 150. This sizing tells me I probably just got super lucky hitting the 8 and that he likely has trips that's going for some thin value. If I raise, I think going super small is the only way to get worse to call, so I check raise to 350. Rosie's looking like some protein powder from my cabinet after the gym because now he's deep in the blender. He knows that this pot is crucial for the competition, and with Frankie up money on the session, the outcome of this hand likely decides who runs the mile of misery.
And I want to crawl into a hole and never come out. It's such a cheap price, almost certainly for value, so it comes down to whether or not he would do this with hands we can beat. And for the price we are getting, I think he can have ace 10, ace 9, ace 5, ace 4, ace 3, and ace deuce enough of the time to, given our pot odds, make this call profitable. So I give Jack an extra $200 on top with a call and send myself dangerously close to the mile of misery. Nice hand, Jello. This one's yours.
We got an ace-queen suited. Things are obviously going well for us. We bet him up to $35, and DuBois makes the call. We're not worried about winning the challenge, but we can't donk off. Flop comes king at jack 9, and we start with a c-bet for $60. DuBois makes the call, and the turn comes the 8 of diamonds. It's here when I'm between checking or betting, and I decide to bet here, trying to give pairs like jacks and 9s to fold, but DuBois sticky. He makes the call, and the river is the 7 of spades. It's now we find out if DuBois will ever fold a king to a big bet. I could rep a 10, I could rep a set that continues betting. I decide to go for a check. We give up with this hand and DuBois takes it down, but we're still doing fine on the challenge.
As you know, on Savage Sundays, we play the 7 deuce bounty game for $25 a person. Finally, towards the end of the stream, we get dealt the glorious hand. I decide to do something a little wonky and open up the action to $75. Yes, you might think this looks obvious, but my plan was to also do this with aces, kings, and queens to balance it out. We just never got any of those primos to make this ridiculous sizing. One opponent, Raj, wants to make it difficult on us. He makes a call for 75. We're heads up to a flop and it comes king 9-7. Board is solid, so I bet small like I would with most of my hands. Now Raj goes for an interesting check raise of $200. I'm a little bit suspicious. I block sets like pocket 7s, and there's an additional $200 of ghost money out there, so I make the call for 200. Turns a 3, complete brick. I check it over to Raj, and he slows down and checks this one back. The river is a great card. It's a board pairing 9, meaning it's way less likely that he is either pocket 7s or pocket 9s. I like this card a lot. However, I'm going to check it over to him and likely call a bet of reasonable sizing. Pots $500 and Raj bets big. When I mean big, very, very big. He bets $1,000, and this puts me in a brutal spot. What the heck do I do here? Do I call 1,000 to win this massive pot and the additional bounty money? Or is this just never a bluff? I'm just gonna believe him. I give up, wave the white flag, let it go, and we see that Raj had quads, pocket 9s. That would have been devastating to call with third pair and get shown the quad. So glad we got away from this one. We end up losing a little bit on this hand.
All right, gang, it's now or never. I'm in last place, but a full double up can catch me all the way up. The stream is nearly over, but the poker gods are always watching. They give Jack pocket jacks and me pocket queens. You cannot make this up. Jack opens to 20, we 3-bet him to 60, and Raj, the guy who shipped 3K over our open earlier and 2,000 pre-flop with 5-4 offsuit, cold 4-bets to $200. And Sam on the button calls. Is this a dream? Jack folds the pocket jacks to the super strong actions that have taken place behind him. Respect to you for that one, Jack. And it is back on me. I consider Sam basically dead money for not re-raising himself and just calling, and Raj has been one of the loosest at the table, so I think it's time to 5-bet for value. I decide on a sizing of $550, and Raj, for the third time this session in my hands, goes all in. Sam folds. We can see that Sam had 7 deuce offsuit. He was indeed dead money. And now we're in pain for the 50th time today, it feels like. This is our moment. If we call and we're right and we hold, we can complete the most epic buzzer beater comeback ever and not have to run the mile of misery. Raj is probably the best player at this table to call off against with a hand like queens. But this is a 6-bet jam. If we fold and he has ace-king, I might projectile vomit onto the felt, which would not be that fun. So we think about it and make the call. And he shows pocket aces. And on a day where we ran trip aces into a rivered boat, ace queen into ace king, this is just the icing on the cake. However, there is 19% equity in my corner, so let's head to a run out.
Oh my god, no.
And he needs a queen and only a queen. No queen.
This guy's running like God, bro.
Oh, Rosie.
I made mistakes. I got coolered. He coolered me.
Yo, that's class.
Sayonara.
He's approaching the first lap.
Why didn't I just fold to the 6-bet? He's 6-bet. What's a 6-bet range? It's aces.
Yeah, kill it. Cheers.
this time, but he still got it.
With flying colors. Subscribe.